Great War, also known as World War One, was the greatest war in history. In the war, it was introduced to new technologies, and it had historic battles, and it grew a lot of two alliances, and it had a lot of deaths during the war, and it was one of the main causes and the main reasons that World War Two is going to begin. IMAN was one of the causes of World War One. It's an acronym. It stands for imperialism, militarism, alliances, and nationalism. Nationalism was one of the causes of World War One. Nationalism is a deep devotion towards a country. Nationalism made a big part in World War One because it increased rivalry among European nations, and it's set from several sources. Competition for materials, and Marcus was one of the reasons, and territorial disputes were another, and it made nationalism was a big part of it. So, nationalism is the second cause of World War Two. Imperialism is when European nations take over weakened countries, and this is one of the causes of World War One because European nations, such like Germany, wanted to take over Asia and everything to make them a bigger army and a better army. Militarism was one of the main causes of World War One. Militarism means a policy of glorifying military power, and it is keeping an army prepared for war, and it made and having a large and standing army made citizens feel patriotic, and it like it wanted European countries to stay alert because they didn't know that when is World War One going to start. But during militarism, it frightened and scared some people. Final and last cause of World War One was the alliances. Alliances played a big part in World War One because the alliance, first of all, is a union or constitution where within other countries that get together and fight other countries. In World War One, before there were two alliances that were formed. It was called the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance. Triple Entente was made up of Russia, France, Great Britain, and later the U.S. And the Triple Alliance was made up of Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. Um, this played a big role because a dispute between two rival powers could draw all the nations of Europe into war, such as the Triple Entente was what draws up U.S., and this is one of the causes. The main catalyst of World War One was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Ferdinand was a Austro-Hungarian heir to the throne. He was assassinated by a Siberian 19-year-old. He was a member of the Black Hand. The Black Hand was a secret society committed to ridding Bosnia of Australian rule. Because the assassin was a Siberian, Australia decided to use the murders as an excuse to punish Siberia. So this was the assassination. Basically, was the main reason why war started in the first place.
Plan was called for action to attack France on the west, but failed and led to separating it to the western and eastern front. Life in the trenches was very horrible because there were mustard gas, which was a new weapon which would cause people to die and get sick, and bombs would go off on the trenches and that would collapse in on people. Then, while they sleep, rats could eat them because the rats would think that they're dead, and then their feet would be damaged because of all of the standing and all the water that is pressed upon their feet. Some simple diseases would break out worse than they normally would, like athlete's foot. This would completely tear their feet apart. Some strategies they used in trench warfare was that they would peek out a little bit and shoot anybody they saw in no man's land. Another way, they would storm the trenches and use hand-to-hand combat and attack each other and use any weapon that they could, like shovels or bayonets.
Late summer 1914, Austria, Russia, and Germany plunged their countries into a world war in Europe, which was one of the bloodiest conflicts in history. More than 3 million men died in the fighting, more than 9 million men were wounded. Each major country which participated lost its form of government. Eastern Front, this area was a stretch of battlefield along the German and Russian border. Here, the Russians and Serbs battled of battlefield along the German and Russian border. Here, Russians and Serbs battled Germans and Austro-Hungarians. No man's land. This area was a stretch of battlefield along the German and Russian border. Here, the Russians and Serbs battled of battlefield along the German and Russian border. Here, Russians and Serbs battled Germans and Austro-Hungarians. Of their trenches into the bombed-out landscape. There they usually met murderous rounds of machine gun fire.
For one, they had new machinery like poison gas and the machine gun. As shown in this one picture, they have poison gas masks on and a new light machine gun that carries water in the barrel so that the barrel doesn't overheat.
Another machinery was submarines, which in 1914 Germans introduced the submarine as an effective warship. The submarine primary weapon against ships was a torpedo and underwater missile. Was a primary weapon. The tanks was a armored combat vehicle that moved on chain tracks, thus could cross many types of terrain. This tank would cover many people from behind, and as they moved to the Western Front and defeated them, this will destroy many territories and their fronts.
The Treaty of Versailles between Germany and Allied powers was signed on June 28, 1919, 5 years to the day of after Franz Ferdinand's assassination in Sarajevo. And the Treaty of Versailles was a treaty that made Germany like all these rules and all these debts. Like for example, like they had to pay for war costs, and they were basically blamed for the whole war. And yeah, the Treaty of Versailles was one of the big reasons why the Germany wanted to take revenge of the League of Nations, like the U.S., Russia, and etc. Is because, and that made a person like Hitler come involved in World War II and take control of Germany and basically change humanity as possible.